He's stupider than Nick. He's stupider and he's less charismatic. The only thing that he has more of is self-control. And even that's only a matter of time. Nazism is basically just politicized mental illness. And also make sure to sub to the channel, okay? This is the main channel, the Vaush pit, and I don't know, some of the clip channels. Get over there, too.
You seem to be very much against this idea of diversity in the military. And that's just not true. Like, I thought that was quite delusional, to be honest, because virtually every single study we have, whether it's of a private business or of the military directly, we can see that diversity contributes to a significant amount of innovation.
This is true.
Right. So for those watching, people of Hunter's kin like to do this thing with studies where they basically use them like Pokemon cards. You know, it's always studies and data. So, you know, people like Hunter also, it's not a coincidence that they're so obsessed with things like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Like they conceptualize diversity.
Hold on, wait,
no, not you.
Is this actually your argument?
What a reach! Holy sh! Right off the bat, NPC talking points from John there. He's like, okay, I have to get the slam dunk opener. I have to think all the killer arguments that my end of the political aisle has, okay? So first off, we're gonna make fun of somebody for believing in facts. We're gonna be anti-empiricist. And then second of all, we're gonna hit him with the Marvel movie joke, even though he hasn't said anything remotely, like nothing has happened yet, you know. It's a very... Do you guys remember that first debate that I did with Sargon like 2.5 years ago? Where like, if you get it built up in your head, like all the things that you want to say beforehand, if you like over prep or overthink it, you're kind of like spilling out with like all the talking points that you want to throw out there, whether or not they're relevant or like effective or pointed in that moment. And yeah, it's right off the bat. Okay, well, hey, you know.
You're telling me that, like, oh, we have more diversity because now we have gay people. Like, what defines gay people other than a fixation on anal sex?
No, I'm not bothered by the homophobia, but he's running away from the talking point again. What is he again? Like literally, what is he talking about? Like, what is he again? Like he has so many things that he wants to say. You know. Have you challenged him to a debate before? Yeah, he backed out because my community was too mean. This is back when he was a crypto Nazi rather than like an open Nazi. Back like 2 years ago or something, we traded shots for a while. Then he blocked me on Twitter because my fans were mean to him when I would like reply to him. Yeah. Wait, is Doyle a fascist? Is JQ? No, he's a Nazi. It's like, yeah, full on Nazi. Yeah. What's the difference between a crypto Nazi and a regular Nazi? He used to like pretend that he wasn't one. He does still for YouTube TOS purposes, but like it's not subtle. Like yeah, he's like he actively has done his beef with Nick Fuentes over who gets to be like the leader of the Nazi movement. Yeah, it's anyway. We were talking about anal sex.
What we're trying to do here,
I know that you have a mod on your side, but like, are you ever going to let me respond? Hey, Andrew, you're ever going to let me respond? I said that I wanted a non-biased moderator, and it's already
and have I said no? How have I said anything? I haven't said anything. I haven't said anything. No.
One side will speak for 5-10 minutes. The other side will speak for 5-10 minutes.
I just wanted to interject with the fact that I haven't said anything, and he's saying there's a debate on.
This is this is why I fucking hate moderators, dude. This is why the Nazi types like the moderators. You know what I mean? See, I don't really care about everyone speaking for the same length of time. You just have to be able to address the points. Like, he just wants to, like, go on a tirade. He just wants to talk about Marvel movies and anal sex. Which, hey, don't get me wrong. I've talked about those things for far more than 5 to 10 minutes on my stream. But, you know, I try not to during debates. I usually try to keep my anal sex-related dialogue down to, like, a solid, like, a tight 2 to 3. You know, I like my conversations on anal sex the way I like my anal sex, tight. Okay. Anyway.
Can I respond to anything that John said? A real debate is you say something, then I ask a question, then we kind of build upon that and have more of a conversation, not just you get to rant in your camera for 5 minutes. I can't believe that your version of a debate, you're so scared to actually just talk back and forth. Are you afraid of my soy face?
You're not letting me talk. My brother in Christ. You gotta stop. I'm gonna just continue.
My brother in Christ.
So again. You'll notice here that what John is concerned about, first and foremost, is getting to Gish Gallop without interruption. He's not actually concerned with delivering a talking point or, like, engaging with anything Hunter has said. What he's concerned about is the artificial protection that a debate format would give him to ramble incoherently about anal sex for, like, 5 to 10 minutes, you know? Which, by the way, 5 to 10 minutes of uninterrupted dialogue during a debate is an incredibly long time. I can't believe he said 5 to 10. 1 to 2, I think, is a reasonable exchange back and forth, unless you're talking, like, collegiate academic debate. And the critical thing that makes those types of debates worthwhile is that all the participants there, theoretically, are acting in good faith. Obviously, that's not really applicable here.
What you're saying is that people whose identities center around anal sex and genital mutilation...
Wow, wait. He actually did want to talk more about anal sex. I was joking. I was just kind of, like, riffing off of the thing that he gravitated towards. But actually, I was correct. That actually was the thing that he wanted to talk about. Okay. Okay. He's ambushing Hunter so that he can try to force Hunter to listen to him talk about anal sex to 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Nick Fuentes isn't the only crypto homo in the alt-right space. Oh, God. It's the infection spreads. The gay virus. Alex Jones was right. It's in the goddamn water. It's in the fucking walls. God. It's so silly. Are you sure they're crypto? Nazis or homos?
You've made like 50 claims. I'm not going to be able to respond to all of them. You're trying to gish-gallop me, John. You're trying to gish-gallop me. Yeah. You're so mad right now because you don't like the idea of having a conversation. You're used to just sitting down and saying, heck off, commie, LOLOL. You're breaking from your script. I know. You're really scared right now.
This is how debates work, dude.
This is not how a debate works. This is not how a debate works, my dude.
Back to anal
sex. Why don't we actually talk?
If you were to keep pumping the military with, say, European men, which is traditionally the...
Well, no, you could say, like, hey, how come black people didn't really present any good inventions during the time that they were enslaved or during the time that Jim Crow was in place? Like, I don't think it's fair for you to just say, well, look, Europeans did this, and that's just because they're European, LOL. That's not how this works. And again, I'm not. Then, okay, but you keep trying to call what I'm saying like an anecdote.
So of course, and you all know this, but the important thing to remember here is that like Doyle doesn't give a fuck about any of this. You can present them with like a litany of incredibly in-depth research on how their arguments are bad, and they'll just sneer and go, "Yeah, well, good luck with your sub-Saharan African space shuttles being invented tomorrow." Like they don't give a shit. The funny thing is that like the greatest testament you'll ever find to intellectual diversity across the races is the fact that these guys are the biggest retards we have, you know? In a way, they're actually kind of champions of diversity, because they're like very strong contributors to the undeniable like existential fact that the white race is in fact not really special. Because again, like I've said this before, but like the thing that kind of put Europe on the map, I mean, the thing for which, like, the West is known, is the Enlightenment. Right? Like, obviously, colonialism's had an impact for longer than that. But when it comes to, like, what do we think of when we think of the West? You know, people tend to cite Enlightenment-era values or developments, stuff like that, you know? These guys are rejections of all of that. They oppose everything there. You know, the Enlightenment thinkers would have spat in these guys' faces. They would have been mocked to their graves because they're really, 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 really dumb. But, you know, the ideal West for these people would actually... The funny thing is, like, if the West was commanded by people of this intellect, we would be the stereotype of the rest of the world that they throw out there to support their political positions. You know what I mean? Like, if you had all of these, like, anti-intellectual, like, brick-headed, white men good, other people scary types, like, in charge of society, we would be as bad as their worst descriptions of, like, sub-Saharan Africa or whatever. How do you feel about this study that shows that when you add women to groups, they engage in higher levels of critical thinking? I'd like to see that, because women are kind of retarded, so there's probably something wrong with that stuff. You know, honestly, I admire the Grug approach to intellectualism. I kind of admire it. I respect it. They don't, I mean, he doesn't care, right? Like, I'm pretty sure if he wasn't trying to optics game better than Fuentes does, I'm pretty sure he would just say, like, Jews did all this, you know? I don't think he really cares about engaging with this anymore.
What you are arguing is that all of the conquests of, for example, the Roman Empire would have been better if you would have had more gay people involved or things like that. And this is why I don't know why you are so like...
Hold on. There were plenty of gay people involved in the conquests of the Roman Empire. And let's like an ahistorical here, okay? Homosexuality won the Roman Empire. It's goddamn borders, all right? Do you think he thinks the Romans were straight and, like, not diverse? Yes, the all-white, incredibly heterosexual Roman Empire. It's true. It's true. God. So stupid. It's always so dumb, you know? He thinks the Romans were straight and grape-pilled.
Why then was Europe able to come in and colonize Africa?
Again, like, this is the level of cognitive engagement we're on. If you really think that, like, diversity increases, like, critical thinking, then why wasn't Africa able to defeat Europe in the Civilization War? Because that's, like, the level they think on, you know? Like, they're not capable of nuance on a political level. In fact, they're opposed to nuance, which means, of course, that they're incapable of analysis. So the only shit they can come up with is, like, well, like, pretending that, like, the civilizations are, like, the like, 4 elemental civilizations of Avatar or some shit, you know? Like, oh yeah, there are just, like, 4 groups of people, you know? Why do they think diversity means Africa? Why do you think? The guy heard diversity and started talking about anal sex.
One statistical analysis focused on armies with high rates of inequality, and that they found that increased the odds by 50% that an army will suffer more casualties than it inflicts on the other side. So that's
I don't know if I've seen the studies that Hunter has seen, but I have read a pretty convincing write-up about how one of the reasons the most effective and long-lasting empires were able to persevere is because they were very effective at incorporating and recruiting soldiers from the provinces that they conquered, you know? So the idea would be, like, if your empire is expanding, like, it's idiotic to go, like, oh yeah, to make our empire strong, we have to only recruit soldiers from, like, the original ethnic provinces that we operated from. Like, as though, like, the Romans were, like, recruiting soldiers from, like, 1,000 miles away from the front lines. Like, it would take them, like, 3 months just to get to the battle from there. So no, of course you recruit and you draft from every province that you can, you know? The Persian Empire did this as well, didn't it? The Persian Empire was famous for doing this. Basically, like, India is, like, crazy multi-ethnic. Like, insanely so. I'm not super educated on, like, Chinese or Indian, like, imperial history, but I know that, like, a ton of the stuff that's gone on in that subcontinent has come down to, like, the unification of different ethnic groups, you know? Yeah, there are so many languages that are used in India. It is wild. Yeah. Just, yeah. No, yeah, the idea that diversity improves the effectiveness of, like, a big, like, organization, that's just true, you know? There's not really much arguing against it. What does Doyle have to say about the Roman Empire and Greek empires being really gay? Whatever he would have to say. Stir Silver, you have to understand, they don't have a coherent or consistent ideology, you know? You could never pose a defeater to them that would make them reconsider their points. So, would he say, oh, they were gay, and that was the one cringe thing about them? Would he say, oh, they were gay, but that wasn't bad at the time because it was not as degenerate back then? Would he say they weren't actually gay? Like, he could say all those, or none of them. He could change his answer. It doesn't matter. They will never change their mind because they didn't logic their way into these positions.
If we know that if you have a group of, like, say 50 bland vanilla white men and you throw in the black people and women, you're saying that that'll help that company do better, that military operation do better, then why then in the places in the world where we see the most black people or the most...
See, again, because he's a racial essentialist, he thinks that every black person in Africa is exactly the same as every black, like, college graduate, like, MIT, you know, like, somebody who's joining the military, like, some shit like that, you know? Like, they're all the same in his head, so he can't wrap his way around it. It doesn't work in his head. Yeah, he literally thinks, like, diversity is when you're black, and being black means that you're, like, any indiscriminate member of a group of people that has, like, 2 billion members or something.
To any sort of minority group, why then are they not doing as well as where we see the most groups of, like, white male-dominated spheres?
Sure,
if that's the
I can
case.
answer that.
So, John Doyle, like, again, we must observe at this moment the profound retardation of this subhumanly unintelligent person put before us, okay? So the argument that Hunter has made, what, 8 times now, is that it's about encouraging diverse thinking, about opposing groupthink, about encouraging, like, heterodox problem solving. So whether or not any group of people, even if you were to pre-assume that black people are less intelligent, which John Doyle certainly has, that has nothing to do with what Hunter is saying. In fact, you could argue that even if you could objectively prove that different racial groups were different levels of intelligence, that wouldn't change the fact that you would get a proportionally greater benefit from the heterodox thinking that you would receive from having that diverse range of opinions available. Does that make sense? So John Doyle isn't just wrong, he's wrong on, like, the incorrect playing field. You know what I mean? He's not just losing the game of baseball, he's in the wrong field right now. He's playing the wrong game in the wrong field, you know? He's kicking a rock around somewhere by third base, trying to find the goal he's supposed to shoot it in. Like, that's where he is right now.
And also...
See, you people give me shit for this, but do you understand how much stronger Hunter Avallone's argument would come across right now if you could call John Doyle a retard? Like, do you understand now the importance, the necessity? Do you understand? It's very true. Very important. Can't forget it. Sorry.
Like, oh, well, this guy happened to like anal sex, and that's why he was able to create this
What
piece
the
of technology.
fuck? Dude, I don't think about anal sex as much as John. I swear to God, every time I've thought about anal sex since the stream started, it's been because of John, okay? This guy's crazy. He can't stop. By the way, guys, if a far-right person ever hits you with the, did you know that diversity increases distrust in society? Hit them with the so what? What? Yeah, because people are racist. So? Like, how the fuck is that their problem, you know? If the thing is, like, people trust each other less when they're racially diverse in the neighborhood, like, there are two ways to fix that. We could upend our entire immigration system, deport or deny entry to millions of innocent people who have done nothing wrong, or you could just have people be less racist. Sorry, buddy, I'm going for option 2. Seems like it'd be a good thing to go for anyway. Besides, we do have evidence that, like, prolonged exposure to racial diversity, like being in racially diverse areas, actually makes you less racist with time. So, if anything, this problem solves itself. That's why most, like, racism, super red areas that you see are rural.
That doesn't compute. And, you know, on paper, it sounds like it makes a lot of sense, but when we square that with what we know about how humans behave and interact with each other, I think it really doesn't make sense. And I think that's actually why he relies so heavily on papers and studies and things.
He literally cannot go beyond, like, well, I think people of different races don't get along, therefore everything else in reality is subservient to that misunderstanding. It's like you guys understand his argument right now is literally, I can't comprehend it. That is actually the argument that he's employing. That is remarkable. Fascists are so strange. They really are. It's wacky, wacky stuff.
Hunter, you got the floor for up to 5 minutes. Say whatever you want. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just respond to all the really retarded things that John Doyle said.
Yes!
So, first and foremost, he complained last time in his video about a bunch of sexual assault. You say, I'm just relying on studies, using them as Pokemon cards, yada, 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 this thing and the other thing, instead of feeling what's within. I'm sorry, I don't know why you seem to be operating on a very womanly kind of basis here, but in my mind, I like to put facts over feelings, okay? And right now, for someone like you, who unironically said that women are less rational, I'm not sure why you are now relying on your own fifis to come to a conclusion when that's not how the world works.
God,
if we went ahead and went by your logic, we would all be here believing the world is flat.
What a king. Nicely done, Hunter. But I've read papers. Well, okay, I won't exaggerate. I've read a paper